Hello there. Welcome to my website today. Wherever you live in the country, there is a weather problem that you're facing. If you're just in the average part of the country with no catastrophic problems going on, you're facing extremely high heat. It's way up in Anchorage, Alaska. They're up in the 80s, is what I understand. And of course, throughout the rest of the country, we've seen so much tragedy. The wildfires, the largest wildfires in the history of California, are putting thousands of people out of their homes, have led to a number of deaths out that way, and don't look like they're abating in the near future. Then you go back east and you see the torrential rains that are taking place there, flooding people that have never been flooded before. We know about that down where I live in Louisiana because we face hurricanes and so much flooding over a number of years. And you've got tornadoes that have hit Alabama, Oklahoma. So from coast to coast, there have been very serious weather problems that have affected millions and millions of people. What do we do about it? Congress just extended on a short period of time the Federal Flood Insurance Act to protect people whose homes had flooded. And there's a lot of criticism from other parts of the country about that program because a lot more goes into these states that flood than come back out. It doesn't balance out. Billions of dollars are put into the program, and certain areas like my home of Louisiana floods regularly. And so some people are saying, should we keep subsidizing people that live in low-lying areas? I think the feeling is that in Louisiana, there's just justifiable cause for it because it produces so much. The nation's largest producer of oil and gas, of seafood, of sulfur. You've got to have people down there in order to give that kind of economic support. But the criticism always comes up that on the East Coast, as well as the Florida coast, there are vacation homes, second homes that receive flood subsidies should those people pay more. It's a flood concentrated problem. But what do we do about the payouts that will take place in California? Those people need a great deal of help. We also see that out on the East Coast with homes flooded, people not having flood insurance. And I think it's time to revisit the whole problem, not look at individual damage that takes place. I proposed back in 1995 when I was Commissioner of Insurance in Louisiana, a national catastrophic fund that would deal with all of these huge weather problems as they come up. What you do, you put a national fund together, and instead of the federal government putting in billions of dollars, they would basically guarantee the payment, not put out any money, but guarantee the payment. It works something like this. You and I would buy flood insurance, but it would be reasonable cost that you and I could afford. Then there'd be a layer above that that would be put in by the state where reinsurance would be purchased. You might pay an extra $10 or $15 a month on your property insurance. That would go to buying reinsurance in case a huge catastrophe took place over a certain level. Then the federal government would come in and be the insurer of last resort. Not every single flood and every single catastrophe, but only those huge problems that go above, say, something like $1 billion of damage. So you could confect something like this that is reasonable, that people could afford, but to do it, you've got to let people buy in based on their needs. If you lived let's say in, I'll pick Ohio. There's not been much flooding up in Ohio, some, but not as lot. Those people there wouldn't pay as much into the fund as people down in Louisiana where I live, where you're much more likely to have flooding. But proportionally, it would work out much better than the national flood insurance programs now. What's going to happen is all these states have been flooded back east, and all these states affected by the wildfires out in California are going to come to Congress asking for some type of bailout. And we've got to help those people. I understand that. We got to get one confected solution. And that's why I'm proposing this National Flood Insurance Program and the National Catastrophic Program to affect us all, whether it's floods, whether it's tornadoes, whether it's massive rains, or whether it's wildfires. I think it makes good sense. We got it through the Senate back in 1995, didn't get out of the House, and then it just kind of languished all this period of time. I'm going to ask our Louisiana congressional delegation in the coming weeks to jointly support something like this. I think it makes good sense and will solve our problems, both in the short range and the long range to come. Glad you're watching my website. looking things over. Hope you'll read my column this week. My radio programs this weekend, Radio Common Sense on Sunday mornings. You can check your local station listings for times and stations. See you next week. Again, thanks for watching.